Hi there, this is your friend and brother Sidney Kahalu on Wisdom Treasures, episode 1. In Genesis 11 and verses number 6 and 7, all that God had to do to make the people who were building the Tower of Babel to stop building it was confuse their language. The moment these people stopped understanding each other, they could no longer proceed to build. Now, I want you to relate this particular problem with some of the things that happen around our lives. The reason why certain churches do not grow, the reason why certain churches cannot be built, the reason why certain relationships cannot survive, the reason why certain marriages face a lot of turbulence is because of language. The very same way God confused the language of the builders and they couldn't build, even in all these scenarios, if the language between the managing director and his subordinates, you discover that there is a problem. They do not understand each other. The language between the wife and the husband, there is no understanding of that language. The language between the father and the children, the mother and the children, the pastor and the followers, if there is a problem in the language that is being used in these particular circles or groups of people, there is no progress. Now, language is the vehicle through which people express their emotions, they express their opinions, they express facts, they express beliefs, and so forth and so on. When this vehicle is tampered with, or when this vehicle is not well understood, there will be a problem in that particular relationship, whether between a manager and his subordinates, a pastor and his followers, a husband and a wife, a girlfriend and a boyfriend, a father and his children, a mother and his children. Now, what we're trying to look at here today is, if you are going to build meaningful relationships and if you're going to build meaningful things in your life, you will always have to understand the language of the other person that you're working with. Because the way people express emotions, the way people express their beliefs, the way people express their sadness, the way people express their joy, the way people express themselves is different. When certain people are upset, they would rather keep quiet, they don't talk. So the other person in this particular relationship will have to understand that when I see my friend quiet, it simply means that this particular person is upset. If the other individual sees the other person quiet, let's say this is between a husband and a wife, the husband sees the wife quiet, and then he does not understand, neither does he manage to decode what is going on. Why is she quiet? If the husband misinterprets the language of the wife, there will be another problem that will be given birth to. So in this particular case, the husband might interpret it to say, she doesn't want to talk to me, she is moody, all of a sudden she's moody. But then in the case of the wife, all that she is doing is she's expressing, it's part of language. And how she expresses herself is that when she's too upset, she keeps quiet. After she's back to normal, she begins to talk. So in most of these particular cases, if you are going to build anything, if you are going to build value, if you are going to build meaningful relationships, you will have to understand the language of the other person, just as they have to understand your language as well. Do not think people will understand your language and your mode of communication by default. It requires a lot of learning, it requires a lot of training, it requires a lot of changing, it requires a lot of adjusting. So today I came to share something with you. Try to sit down and start trying to understand the language of your followers if you are a pastor. Try to begin to understand the language of your wife if you are a husband. Try to start understanding the language of your husband if you are a wife. Try to understand the language of your children if you are a father or a mother. Try to understand the language of your subordinates. Try to understand the language of your managers if you are employees and if you are a manager, because without understanding each other's language, you will be unable to build anything worthwhile. You'll be unable to build anything worth it. The people that built the Tower of Babel stopped building the moment they could not understand each other's language. Thank you for tuning in and watching the first episode of Wisdom Treasures with your friend and brother Sidney Kahalu. Till we meet again, it is Shalom.